guess it's like the only Supreme t-shirt that I got, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Reggie Casual and Supreme! Supreme is an enigma. When it first started as a skate lifestyle shop and eventual label in 1994, no one could have foretold it would become as massive as it is today. And yet, here we are. But what got us here, and who can we attribute to its out-of-control popularity? James Jebbia's label focused in on one of the most misunderstood subcultures of its time, skate. And through skaters, Supreme was able to create an entire ethos that was above the fray, that elevated these individuals, that made it not just cool to skate, but by partaking, you were a rebel, immune to the very notion of political correct culture. It was, in fact, beneath you to do so, or to be so. You were, in a sense, supreme, all puns intended. And it wasn't just tease and lifestyle. Through some savvy marketing, Supreme adopted luxury fashion's method of perceived scarcity. For it was Jebbia that noticed how these skaters would mix designer clothes with streetwear and came to the conclusion that, hey, what if a streetwear label also created that feeling of exclusivity like the designer labels, one that a select few would elevate by virtue of being in the know. It was brilliant at the time, and its effects can be seen all over the place. I mean, look at me right now, sitting here talking about Supreme. Now, there's no need to mull over the entire timeline. Just know that a combination of Tyler, the Creator, A$AP Rocky, Kanye, and others catapulted Supreme to where it is today. And now it's the bona fide most valuable streetwear brand in the world, sitting at approximately $1 billion, but more on that later. But at 25 years, Supreme has been the single most important contributing brand in the blurring of lines between high-end and street, at least at the mainstream level. I mean, I could be biased and mull over how Japanese labels have been doing this for a long time, but the caveat to that argument is that Supreme has often been the label that introduced many in the West to these Japanese labels, so I guess there really is no argument there. Listen, there are a slew of you out there that know about Comme des Garçons, Undercover, and even Sasquatch Fabrics. But there are even more of you who would have never known about these labels had Supreme not collaborated with them. The power of Supreme has been its ability to weave its way into every facet of street fashion on a global scale and transcend each generation, while at the same time being the catalyst for the budding fashion enthusiasts. And that is all good, but not all is good in the world of Supreme. Its simplicity was misunderstood by a plethora of would-be streetwear entrepreneurs who failed to understand why Supreme became what it was. In the years after it blowing up and as social media became more prevalent and Supreme's star kept rising, the streetwear brand frenzy started. Many saw Supreme as an example. Streetwear was easy, they thought, and a way to enter into the world of entertainment without having to be a rapper, singer, or athlete. Too many fingers right there, but you know what I'm talking about. This predictably had an adverse effect. Not everyone is built for the long haul, and many honestly lack the backing to create the next Supreme. But that didn't stop people from believing they can, only to realize that creating a madly successful fashion brand can be just as hard as becoming a famous rapper or NBA player for that matter. Supreme also intensified hype to the point where the brand became the identity of what would become die-hard Supreme fans. Completely disregarding the original ethos, Supreme to these individuals was the epitome of cool rather than being a subculture fashion haven. And Supreme has capitalized on this by releasing almost nonsensical accessories, like a brick. Yeah, a brick. As an almost tongue-in-cheek way of poking fun at these individuals. But sometimes even that is not enough. And said individual would begin to take matters into their own hands. It gets downright ritualistic for some cats, no joke. It be crazy. Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't wear it because of them. It just means Supreme has become so ubiquitous with hype that some have become a little obsessed with its perceived cool factor. To the point where when you ask, why do you like Supreme? Many will answer, because it's cool. Or dope, or whatever people are saying these days, which has an adverse effect on cheapening the value of Supreme and the fashion industry altogether because of Supreme's influence. And there are those that will defend Supreme to the death on this. You can often tell who they are by the comments below this very video or any video that critiques Supreme. You'll see them. Just look. It'll happen. They can't help themselves. Watch. I'm just joking, but not really. For Supreme's only attribute to its popularity is just coolness, then other labels are forced to follow suit. Just be cool becomes the answer, and high-end fashion has taken notice. LV went all the way in with the Supreme collab and the Virgil signing. It can be argued that none of this happens without the work of Supreme. For better or for worse, Supreme set the bar in nearly all of fashion, and nobody is sure whether that's bad or good. Time will only tell. And now Supreme is 50% owned by the Carlyle Group, a private equity firm that dabbles in weapons of mass destruction. It's not a joke. So while being a $1 billion evaluated brand with only 11 flagships is a good business model, Supreme may be peaking to the point of no return where fashion has to follow Supreme's consumer model instead of the creative model. I mean, it already has. Or Supreme may just very well take over the world. I mean, Carlyle has 50%, so don't be surprised if a IBM with a box logo comes crashing down on you. Now, of course, many would probably see it as the ultimate form of hype, but I, for one, would not look forward to that. I don't want to end by a box logo missile. Supreme certainly deserves credit for its successes and its status as the ultimate streetwear brand, but it's important to remember what it is. A brand that was spurred on by the street. Essentially, you. And James, the guy who made Supreme, saw value in you, and that's the only reason why it is what it is. So it could be determined that you actually changed the industry, and Supreme was the tool by which you did it. At least for a lot of you, many of you, some of you, the people who like Supreme. But that's just part of the story because Supreme is far from dead. So let your thoughts on the brand add to its history in the comments. Give a thumbs up if you like this video and follow your boy on Instagram at Reggie Casual to see how I put some of this stuff together in Japan. It most likely won't be Supreme. Also follow thecasual.co to see fits and finds here in Tokyo. そしてまだやっていないなら subscribe を忘れないように. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, but most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international street fashion and culture from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. よろしくお願いします. I'll see you guys in a minute.